Hi everybody. So today I want to be talking to you about Google Forms, and I am Brittany Gaffney. I work for the Model Schools team here as an instructional tech specialist. So this video is all about Google Forms, and hopefully it can get you up and running with just some of the basics. So when we talk about Google Forms, they can be used for a plethora of things. What first comes to mind might be a survey, but for the school setting, quizzes really come to mind as well. So I got here by clicking our little Google app icon here, and I went to Forms. And there are a bunch of different options up at the top. You can choose a blank template or a quiz form. They also even have some for exit tickets up at the top as well, which is nice. So I'm just going to choose a blank form. So right now, this is kind of in survey mode. There's no right or wrong answers for the students. This is just creating questions and letting people answer them. Now to turn it into quiz mode, if you go up to the settings toggle here, and across the top to quizzes, you'll toggle make this a quiz. You'll toggle that on. So that is how you'll be able to work through creating right answers for students. If you create all multiple choice, you can get the form to grade itself for you, which is really, really handy. So we'll go deeper into that. I'm going to go ahead and make this a quiz just because the same features will be here if you were just to use it as just a normal form. And making it a quiz will just add features. So it'll kind of give us everything that a form can do by turning this on. You'll also notice if you're using Chromebooks here, you can turn on that lock mode. So this will only turn a Chromebook into lock mode so students aren't able to open up any other tabs, just using the form that you put in front of them, which is a nice feature if your school is using Chromebooks. Now also on this quiz mode, you can decide when you want the grade to be released to students, and then you also get to decide what you want the students to be able to see after they have received their quiz back. So missed questions, correct answers, or point values. So I'm going to save this here so we can get into it. Okay, so up at the top is where you'll title your form. And it'll also title here in the top left-hand corner. You can also create a form description. So maybe this is a chapter quiz or a book review. So you can add just a little blurb there to describe the quiz or directions that you want to give, maybe what the student should be doing after. And then it automatically sets you up with your first question here. So it sets it as a multiple choice question. So you'll type in your question, it's set up as a multiple choice, and you can put in your answers here. Now you'll notice as I'm putting in choices, you can easily X out and delete or remove an answer choice. And since this is a quiz, you'll see this option here to bubble in what the right answer would be by clicking answer key. And you get to decide what the correct answer would be. You can also set it to a certain amount of points, so it will score it for you. And this is nice as well, this add feedback. So if students get the question incorrect, you can enter maybe a little review blurb or say, remember this was question 2 on the study guide. You can also add a link or even a video. So this is really nice as just a learning tool, not a down and dirty quiz perhaps, but maybe if they get something wrong, it'll send them to this awesome review. And then if they do get the correct answer, they would see something different here, like you could write in good job. And they would be able to see that feedback instantly when they go to view their score at the end. And you can see since I saved that feedback, you could delete it, you can edit it from there. So this is just an example of a multiple choice question. And so from this view, you can only really delete and remove your choices, but by hitting that answer key is what really unlocks the quiz portion. Now, another thing to note here, Next to the question, there's this little image button. By clicking that, you can upload a stimulus for the question. So maybe if you are a reading teacher, you could upload a picture or snapshot of a small reading passage. This is especially nice for math teachers, so you're not really having to reinvent that wheel, because we know making math quizzes is and can be really difficult using technology sometimes. So if you have a test or activity that you really love, you can take a picture of the question stimulus itself, maybe it's a graph, a word problem, whatever it may be, and upload that here as your question. So you don't really have to remake too much. And you'll also notice as I highlight over the answer choices, you can even put pictures in here as well, which is really awesome for maybe students who receive accommodations or are younger kiddos in pre-K and kindergarten. It's a really nice way to differentiate some of our teaching because we have those image options there. And you'll notice when I clicked on that, it gives you a ton of options of where to get your pictures from. So you can upload them right from your own computer, your desktop. You can turn your camera on right here. But you can also get them from a URL, your own Google Drive, or you can do a Google image search right within this quiz, which is really nice. So it makes it easy for you to do. Now, another thing you can do inside the question is duplicate. So this is nice if you maybe have similar answer choices and you want to just change up the question, or if you have a format that you love, you can duplicate. Now you can also get rid of a question really easily by hitting the delete button. And this required toggle is important, and I find that it usually helps students and even faculty if they're taking a survey or anything. Making this required will just force students or teachers to answer the question. So it won't let you submit your quiz or hand it in until you've answered all of the required questions. So this just might be good so students don't forget to answer one or two. We know that they do that in the paper version of a test or quiz. So it's nice to have this option because it won't let them hand it in without answering all of them. All right, so now along the side is more tools. So this is where you'll add a new question, this plus button. So it'll create a blank one. It will automatically go to multiple choice. But look at all of your different answer choices of how you can ask a question, I should say. Short answer or paragraph, so that allows students, so here's my question. This allows students to type within the box. And same with paragraph, it just allows for a little longer of a response. Multiple choice is what we just worked on. Check boxes. So actually, before I move on here, I'm going to go to short answer and paragraph. Now, you still see that answer key option if you pick short answer or paragraph, but it will not grade your question for you unless you have like a one-word type of answer, which can sometimes get a little bit tricky if students don't type it exactly as you wanted it to be. But the really nice part about a short answer or a paragraph question is there still is this add answer feedback. So no matter what the students write, you could type in your sample response, right? Like picture a rubric for your writing activity or an extended response for a math problem if they have to explain their thinking. You could type in what you're looking for-ish, right? And students can kind of self-assess. So even though they're not getting that immediate grade right after they submitted their quiz, they're still going to be able to see what their answer should have been. So I think this is a really nice tool to encourage that self-reflection that we know and love from a paper exam. You can still do that here, right, in Google Forms. And of course, you can add your links and videos there too. All right. So moving on, multiple choice, we went over that. Check boxes and drop down. The check boxes are nice because it's one of those questions like select all that apply. So you can have all of your options here. You can create your answer key, and then you can check the ones that would be right. Okay. You can also turn this question into a drop down. So your options would stay the same and students would get just that, a drop-down menu just like this with your answer choices, and they could pick. You can also upload a file right here as a question, which is helpful. The linear scale and the multiple choice, I'm going to show you an example of that. It takes a second to type in, so let me show you an example of what a linear scale looks like. So I recently this was just a survey for some teachers, and this is what the, what was it called again? The multiple choice grid or the checkbox grid. This is what it looks like. So you'll set up your choices here in rows versus columns. So you'll kind of set up like your criteria and your choices, and then they show up in little bubbles here. So they get to pick what they feel. So I feel like this option is really good for a survey versus a quiz. Okay. You can also import questions, which is nice. So these questions can come from previous forms that you did. So you'll notice when I pull this up, it pulls every Google form that I've ever used, and I could import questions that I've used previously, which is helpful, especially from year to year if you're using these, or even if a colleague has created one and shared it with you, you can import questions that way, which is helpful. Okay. This title and description just kind of adds that one more little chunk there if you wanted to create kind of a break for them or a different section. So sometimes I've seen teachers create science lab reports, so they create sections along the way to break it up according to the scientific method. You can also add an image at any time. So if you wanted to add a cute little image maybe for the kids to start off the test, you could put that up here. And this is also, I'm showing you how to move questions around. So once my cursor becomes this arrow, four-headed arrow, you can click and drag and move the order of questions, which is really helpful. And here's where you could say, you know, wishing you luck with a picture there, which is nice. And the same option goes for videos. So if you would like to embed a video from YouTube, that is really helpful. Now, just a word to the wise, sometimes YouTube is blocked for students. Teachers will be able to see the YouTube video, but when you go to share it with your students and they're logged in under their email, they may not be able to see it. So make sure to kind of test that feature out depending on your school's share settings. Just a word to the wise there. But you can also paste a URL here as well, just right from YouTube, but just be careful. And the last piece that you can add in here is a section. Now, this gets into something a little bit more advanced that we won't have time to talk to today, but this last piece for sectioning is how you would go to branch a Google form. And again, I won't really have time to get into that, but it is a very nice way to differentiate. And we actually do have some videos in our MORIC library on YouTube that talk about Google Forms and branching. So if that's something you're interested in, they're right in our library there. So the sections kind of help with that if you've heard of Google branching before. So that kind of covers our question, creating questions, how to move them, delete them. And again, these tools look the same if you're on or off of quiz mode. The only thing that really changes on quiz mode is this answer key portion because it's meant to grade it for you. Now, across the top, just really quickly, you can customize your theme here. So just the way that your Google form looks. So you can upload your own image or header. So this is going to go across the top. And you can upload your own as well. So if you have something that you've used previously as an image for your course, you can upload that. But we'll pick the bubbles for now. And it puts that up here, and then you can change your theme color. So depending on what banner option you chose is what the colors look like here. The other piece is the little eyeball. That is a preview. So you get to see exactly what your students would see that you've created in quiz mode. So you can be sure that it looks how you'd like it to look. And if you click this little pencil back down here, it'll take you back to edit this form. And that's only for you because you're the owner. If students were to receive this to take it, obviously they would not see that pencil option, but you will. So we'll click that to go back to edit. So now let's dive a little bit deeper into the settings. You can have this turned on so it does collect students' email addresses. This might be helpful so you can tell who is taking the quiz. When I was a teacher, I would always make the first question of the quiz their first and last name, so that way it was easy for me to organize and see right off the bat who was taking, who it was attached to. But you can decide how you'd like to do that. And then I would always make sure it was required so they wouldn't forget to do that. Requires the sign-in. This is important because if you're sharing this with someone else, like recently we just did some classes that teachers from all over were sharing forms with each other. We wanted to uncheck this. So that way you could share it and anyone outside of your school could maybe take this quiz. But if you're using it for in-school purposes, you can restrict that to just your district. Limit to 1 response. I would say if you're giving a quiz, you'd make sure to check that to limit it to 1 response. But that's up to you. It does give you the option to edit after you submit. So when the students go and they take the survey or the quiz, if you turn this on, they'll get a little blue hyperlink when they're done taking the quiz or survey or activity to edit their response if they need to. So again, for a quiz, probably not the best idea, but it's an option. This is kind of nice. The students are able to see a summary and chart of their responses. So this is for the whole class. So maybe if you were giving a survey, you would want the students to see what everyone said. Or maybe just to be able to see some responses that were given so they kind of know what's going on in class. So something to think about there. The presentation. So this progress bar, if you check that, students will see across the bottom how many questions they have left. So they'll only see 1 question at a time, and they will know how many more questions they have. Shuffling the question order is nice, especially for that quiz, right? So then you can have students sitting right next to each other taking the same quiz, but they might not be on the same question at the same time. And the link to submit another response, you'd probably most likely want to make sure that is unchecked there for a quiz. Now, this confirmation message can come in handy because most of the time we have students, completing any kind of task and then they say, what do I do when I'm done? So this confirmation message can provide that space for you. So you can say, thank you for taking your time. Now that you're done, please blank. And then the students can kind of self-start instead of you prompting each student. It's a nice place to put more directions. And of course, put a little congratulations on there. You can also put a link here. You don't have to just type words. You can copy a URL and it will take them someplace different. So that's something to think about too. And then again, of course, our quiz mode, and you can make those changes in here, and we kind of went over that already. So now you're ready for students or your faculty or whoever to experience this form and then get some data back. So we want to be up here in that send option. You can email directly to people, but I would suggest going over to this link option. And this is a direct link to your URL. And you can copy that or click copy. And you can put this right into your Google Classroom. You can put it in an email to students, however you get information to them. And you can copy it, and I'll kind of just show you if I were to paste it in my URL, it will take me to the quiz. So that is how you can share your form with students or anyone that you would like to take it. This is an embed code, so if you are using Google Sites already, this might be a nice option. You can embed it right into Google Sites or maybe your own school web page. This is the embed code to get it in there if you're interested in that feature. these settings are kind of similar with any Google application. You can make a copy, you can delete it. Add collaborators. This might be important for you if you're creating something that your whole team might be working on. You can add collaborators so everyone's working on that same document. That's how you would do that, which I think is probably the biggest difference, I'd say, between a Google Doc or slide versus a form. This is how you would share with others so you could actually work on it together. But you would hit the send option for people that you would want to actually take it. And we probably have like 2 more minutes left, and I just want to show you the awesome feedback that you get and data that you can get from these forms. So I'm going to show you one that I've used previously when I was a teacher. And I'm going to go to an old vocabulary quiz that I gave. So you'll see I had 107 students respond. And this is what the data can look like. So you'll see my questions were multiple choice. So it was really easy for them, obviously the form, to grade itself. So I knew exactly how my students did. So you'll have your summary right here. It gives you, the average, the range of your scores, which is really awesome. And I think my favorite part of this report is right here, frequently missed questions. Because often when we're going over quizzes, students tend to snooze. It just doesn't become super productive when you're going over a 50-question test, or even 20. But this kind of gets you that highway path to going over the most frequently missed questions, which those I think are important, right? Or even for you as a teacher, if you don't want the kids to really know which one was frequently missed, it helps you know really fast which ones were frequently missed. So you could look at maybe the question stem, if that was bad, or if you made an error, you can kind of look through that really easily. So that is one of my favorite features of the data. And then you can obviously see, how they did. So this is the right answer, but look at 49 of my kids chose that question or that choice. But hey, we did a little better here, right? So this is the right answer because it's highlighted in green, but the bar is most importantly the furthest. So that shows there, and it gives you a count. 102 students picked held tightly, which is the right answer. So you can get some really great data back from this. And equally, if you did this as a survey, an ungraded assignment or anything, you can still get that same data. It just won't score it for you, but it'll say what people have picked. So I think that concludes our time on Google Forms. I hope this was helpful. And as always, you can reach out to any of your model schools tech specialists to have more information on Google Forms or any more help. And again, I am Brittany Gaffney, and you can reach out to me personally as well. And check back into this YouTube page where you found this link. We're going to continue adding more videos to kind of help with some of our Google features. Thank you.